Thank you, everybody, for coming. Let me just say, really pleased that Manpower have trusted me to come back and do this again. And as far as I know, I am still mostly human, as are our panel, which I think you'll also be very pleased about, because we're going to talk a lot about AI here in this session. But as you can see, we haven't quite been replaced just yet. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on introductions because I think you can all read and you can see the wonderful panel that we have here. Really great to have Becky, Andre, Francine, and Frederick with us. So let me just start with a little bit of a thought experiment. You will have seen that there is a pen and 2 cards on your seat. If you could just do me a very quick favor here. As we focus on the future and the now, or the now and the next, as we've described it on those cards, what we'd like you to do is effectively make a decision about the kind of person, employee, leader, manager, entry-level grad, I'm looking among you, that you are, and how you are thinking about AI and the future. What we want to ask you is, what is closest to your heart? Are you a now employee? Are you spending 80% of your time on the current business and perhaps just 20% of your time thinking about AI, how you engage with it, how you train with it, how you use new tools for the future? So that would be a now response from that card. Are you a next employee? Obviously, I think you'll have worked it out by now. We invert the percentages. So ultimately, are you spending 80% of your time testing out new AI tools and thinking about how you can incorporate them into your process, your workflow, your life, how you can adapt, and how you can be that future-ready employee? I hope I'm not leading the audience here. Or are you 20% focused on the current business and then largely very invested on effectively the present? What I want you to do is hold up the card that reflects...
In your job today.
In your job today.
Okay.
That reflects your opinion. And then I'm also going to ask you to write in big letters 1 or 2 words to explain why you've taken the decision you've taken. And the panel are also going to do this as well. So now's the time to hold up your cards, if you might.
Oh, I wasn't finished writing. Okay.
Okay, so there's a lot of nows over this side. We've got a few next. Actually, this looks really balanced. So write down on the card why you've taken the decision you've taken with the card. Could be very simple, could be fear of AI, could be excited about AI. Just give us a couple of words here, and we can see how the room feels about the drivers of the now and the next. But I don't know about you, Becky, I was a little bit surprised to see it so balanced.
Yes.
But there you go. It seemed like a bit of a dead heat to me. So have you all written on the back of the cards? Right, let's if you can hold it up and let me see. Let me see. Yeah, can I just ask you? You say build trust.
Yeah. So build trust to help with AI adoption.
Right, very good. Yep, you look like you really want to say something. Focus.
Absolutely, focus. We need to keep the aeroplane in the air at 30,000 feet whilst some of my colleagues are working on the next.
Okay, so you'd much rather be concentrated on end of year performance targets. Let's make sure that's booked before you get worked up about, and you'll leave it to other people in the business to think about the next and the AI. Yes, sir.
I hold the now because it's actually the next of yesterday. It's such a speed that by the time you're focusing on the now,
right,
it's already something too old. So you really are struggling on keeping up with such a speed.
Wow, I think I'm in some kind of logic loop here. You're frying my brain. Let's. Is there another next? Yep.
So I work in cultural diversity. I work in culture and
culture and diversity. So really our focus this year is on how we're preparing our leaders to lead through uncertainty into the infinitive and on behaviour shifts.
Okay, no, really good answer. What did you write down, panel? Did anybody write?
No.
No?
The only one.
You're the only now. Hang on. You're SAP. You're a technology company.
Maybe that's the issue.
Ah, okay.
I'm next, but I also love the now, so I would have been like half and half if I could have. But mine is totally why I asked you in my job.
Yeah.
I mean, my job looking after strategy is to see around corners and to try to plan while we're looking. And so I need to be there. But I love the operations so much that it's a tough balance for me.
What do you think of the opinion in the room? It was very mixed,
Yeah,
I would say.
I'm encouraged by it, actually. I was afraid. I knew we were going to do this whole thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, everybody's going to say next, and businesses are going to go down, so good for you. And so I was quite pleased, actually, to see the balance. And I'll just make a few comments,
please
if
do.
you don't mind. So this is reflective of the world today. Like what you see is what we're all going through. How do we run the business today for the now and also plan the business for tomorrow, which is the next, or yesterday, depending on your commentary. But this bridge between the now and the next. And if we're all on the next, we won't be able to afford it. And so we need people who are vested in today's business. And even you were generous. I mean, I'd say it's fine to spend 100% of your time on the now. And there's other people to sort out the next, depending on your company. And so I actually was encouraged. This understanding of humanity is also why we launched a very large research report to understand macro trends in work. When I say large, for you data geeks in the room, 40,000 employers, 41 countries. And one of the surprising things that came out of that, and then these are employers, keep that in mind, people who hire people, was this reduction in confidence in established systems. Okay, we run businesses. It is an established system. That is a leadership challenge, actually. How do we help our people bridge from today to tomorrow when we can't quite see tomorrow, but everybody's talking about it? And so to me, that is a leadership challenge for us. And when you think about the evolution of AI, Fran and I have been coming to these things for a while together. And 3 years ago at the forum, AI was the total superhero. AI was going to take all of our jobs. You know, I heard Musk said we don't need to hire or save for retirement, so good on all of us. It's all going to be taken care of apparently. But it's coming for all of our jobs. And then last year, it was, no, the human's actually the superhero and AI's the cape. Well, this year, it reminds me of the movie Shazam. Has anybody seen that movie? Okay, doesn't matter. So this guy, the story, the analog is crazy. So this guy gets a superhero gifted from a wizard, and he doesn't know how to fly. That is us now. We have this gift called AI, but we don't know quite how to fly with our cape. And so this evolution of the fact that we've shifted from human age, which we at ManpowerGroup launched 10 years ago, to human edge, it's because we believe that humanity's potential is unlocked further with technology. And so we're making it our mission to redefine this AI productivity with this push on established systems from productivity to human experience. Because if we don't have a human success story, AI will not succeed.
In that survey, some astonishing results. 74% of employers globally still struggling to find skilled talent, but just 29% of workers see sufficient skill development in their current employment or roles. So how do you cater for varying AI appetites at this point, where clearly some people are moving at a different speed from others? It may be role related, or it may just be personality and culture related. Fran, maybe this is a good one for you. Perhaps share with our audience the experience at Cisco.
I will, and it's so funny because as I listened to you, Becky, I was thinking, so I wrote down on my card a question around like, is there a now? And my thought on this is just that everything is changing, and is it a fallacy for us to feel like there's a current way of doing things? From a Cisco perspective, I will tell you, we started talking about AI with our employees probably about 4 years ago. And initially, I would tell you the response was very fear-based. But it's shifted quite a bit. And recently, 87% of our employees told us that they are feeling like there's some great opportunities with AI. And so that's a pretty big shift for us. Some of the surprises for us have been in the engineering organization, we have made multiple tools available to the engineers. And when I say that, I mean like 6 or 7. And what we have found is there's something about that that encourages people to explore. There isn't one way. Find the tool that works best for you. And what we've learned is that that whole process has created an element of choice. And people do want to choose how they show up to technology. And so at the moment, I would say we're trying to allow our employees to find their path while encouraging them to run. And the other thing that we're doing at the moment is we're trying to rethink workflow. And what I mean by that is just to look at what are the processes of the company. I think so many times in big companies, you chop up the processes into little pieces because that's how you manage to control. And we have to step back now and look more holistically at what we do and the value we can provide.
Andre, let's talk a little bit about the way that you actually help your employees learn and reskill. I know you've looked a little bit at the art of learning in itself and how that works with bringing those employees on. What's the SAP learning?
Actually, AI is the biggest gift for the learner by itself as a technology, because it helps you to do so much more on the job with new tooling, really acquire skills during your day. And you can really, and this is also where we're investing heavily in like the whole learner experience, because I think this is so fundamental that you also keep them engaged in reskilling. And they need to have and you also need to provide new ways of learning, not just like sitting in a classroom or like having kind of lectures. And I think you need to adapt also according to your workforce. You have kind of different kind of demographics in your workforce, different ways of learning. And I think their AI is a huge gift to provide multiple learning behaviors and support them the right way, doing really acquiring the skills they need in the future on their job. And I think the biggest piece of we need to offer to our people is really making them part of this transformation, seeing that there is like with every kind of new skill they acquire, that there's also a value in their job. So that it's not kind of, okay, yes, it's nice that I need to reskill, but do I have a job tomorrow? Yeah. And I think this also stops people to being engaged in doing learning and investing the time, really valuable time for themselves in reskilling.
Frederick, you've got a really varied workforce at Schneider. Does that present training challenges in itself with AI?
It does. I mean, Schneider is a very diverse company, all working on electricity and energy management at large, right? So when we started to implement AI, the adoption, the response has been very diverse. So today, if you go in one of our software development team, you will see agentic AI at scale, and you will see software programmed and developed by AI. Pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. And it has been done the way you explain it. Means you give tools to the people, you give them access to some tools, they choose the ones they like, and they go and they develop. It's moving to the entire engineering piece with a lot of training, I have to admit, but successful training, and it's changing the mindset of leaders in engineering. What is changing now is that you can model a product in probably a cycle of 6 weeks. Then you become much closer than software. Okay? Before, to model a product and to test it, it's a 2-year cycle. So it's changing the teams, and it will change the leaders' ability to drive those teams. Because you don't drive the team on choices that you make for 2 years, you drive the team on giving ideas and going much faster. And it's a different model of leadership. And where we still struggle, and that's an important point, and where we have not found the recipe yet, we have people on site who do technical job on site. And today, large language model is not adapted for those people. You don't do a prompt on your phone to try to get your answer. It's too complex. So we would like to specialize AI and speak their language, and so that they can conversationally discuss with the tool. On this part of our workforce today, we struggle. And it's a big problem for us, and by the way, for the AI industry, because AI needs power, right? The byproduct of AI is power and electricity. And to install AI data center, you need workforce and you need people to do that. And today, the profession is struggling to get enough skilled people, and we believe that AI could be a way to accelerate. But to do that, we need to be much more focused on the tools that we bring to the people. Because if you're a field technician, I cannot tell you, look, I give you 4 tools, use them and tell me what best work for you. It doesn't work. Yeah. So that's still a frontier on which we would like to go deeper to implement AI.
That's fascinating. And I think what we encapsulated in the responses at the beginning was the productivity paradox, in a sense, that I think everybody recognizes that as you stop to focus on the training and the upskilling and so forth, there is a risk that you fall behind on the now when it comes to actually fulfilling your targets and the obligations that have been set for the business and have been set for relevant employees. I guess my question then really is, can we bring everybody along together at the same time, Becky, and achieve both an improvement in productivity and the training?
Yeah, so what we've seen is to bring everybody at the same speed is costly and ineffective. And we did some research, and I'd be interested in the panel's view on this, that said it's about 40% more effective in terms of adoption, that very lucrative word called adoption, to bring people at different speeds, different paces. And so who are your now, who are your next, who are your early adopters, and divide them in terms of what you want them to actually learn for the organization. But I'm curious, related, you said something I thought was interesting around, I'm afraid if I learn, will I have a job tomorrow? Or if I don't learn, will I have a job tomorrow? Our research shows that employees feel pretty confident today, but they're very afraid of tomorrow. And so this idea that you two were talking about, and you said a lot of training, I'm curious if training needs to be like more classroom and or online, or if it's in the flow of work. What is your view on that?
I can take it. I believe the more you're on operational work, the more it has to be on the flow of work. But after, to bring that to the people, you need to create a bit by yourself, right? Yeah. So we really need. I mean, for me, the biggest transformation we have to accomplish is leadership. Because with AI, you enter in a different style of leadership. And things go much faster. And mistakes are not dramatic. We still have, I believe, some people that don't move because they eventually would do a mistake. But which mistake would they do, right? If the world is moving much faster than not moving, I like what you say. If you stay on the now, there may be not now tomorrow, right? So it's absolutely fundamental that you bring to people and you help them to experiment, and you can do mistakes, that's fine. They are far less costly than what they were 10 years ago.
I think the leadership point is fascinating. I was going to save this, but let's bring that in now. Show of hands here. Who thinks it's important that the leaders actually know how the AI works, or just that they understand at a strategic level that it's going to change the operation? Maybe put your hand up if you think it's important that the leader knows how it works. Okay. Put your hand up if you think it just matters at a strategic level that they understand it's going to bring change in the organization. Okay, well, I think the audience is against you on this one, Becky.
I know. It's okay.
They want brass knuckle here. They want the whole thing as far as the leader is concerned. Well, let me go back a step, because as we talk about the focus on AI, it's very much, you read it everywhere. We've gone from last year was all about agentic AI to this year it's all about ROI. And a lot of that is, I think, to do with valuations, and that's led by Wall Street analysts and the markets. But it's still a very relevant point as you introduce this into your business here. So, Andre, maybe one for you again. Do you agree AI does require a shift in ROI mindset?
Yes, I think so. I mean, first of all, I need to say we are not at the end when it comes to the return of invest discussion, because one thing is for me very clear, usage of AI gets more expensive over time. I don't know where we get all this energy. I mean, we can build data centers like hell, but we also need to build nuclear power stations like hell if we continue kind of this speed. And if you look at the kind of big players, large language model providers like OpenAI, also Google, etc. I mean, if you look at their balance sheet, I mean, you see it already. I mean, I just did a check. When I started using Perplexity, I had a pro user paid $24 a month. The max user is now at $220 a month, so they increased massively the price point already. So the return of invest discussion will for big companies getting even larger. So therefore it's super important. Again, like also back to your initial question when you asked the room, leaders need to know the details. I think yes. Why? Because you need to have a proper judgment what do you need to really leverage AI the best way. And I think you need to know, you need to understand, looking at the data, and at the end it starts with the mass. It's unsexy, but it's the master data management. If you had the right data across the processes aligned in a semantic way, that AI is at the end a tool using the semantic data, underlying data. And I think this is, you need to understand this. And it's like so important that leaders like really also do the right investments and set the proper foundation that then really the return of invest for the companies coming in. And I think this is why it's important that also we, from a leadership perspective, are open to really spend time in upskilling ourselves. I mean, we also maybe should do a practical exercise, use how this works, and also get the insights. And that for me is super critical topic.
Fran,
I just want to say, in the spirit of dialogue, so let me tell you why I said what I said. I think everything you said around foundational data, I mean, that we all have to know that. To me, that's AI fluency. But to expect me to be able to actually implement, write whatever code needs to happen as a leader, I wouldn't expect that of my leaders. And so when we say the brass tacks knuckles, that's how I took that. I do think we all need to be students of AI. I'm a big student of AI. I'm not an expert. But I think data is going to change and technology is going to change at a pace that leadership's going to invert itself actually on AI. And the people who are closest to the business will know a lot more than the leadership. That's at least my belief. Spirit of dialogue, Andre. Thank you.
We'll come back to some different roles because I do want to focus on everybody's experience of this within the business structure. But Fran, just on that, I mean, since you talked about upskilling, can you at Cisco frame upskilling as workforce R&D? I mean, how does it play?
So I would say a few things. So the first is I had an experience recently where we had our teams go through the process of looking at how AI could enhance their work. And they came back with suggestions. But what they came back with in some cases was that which was easy to implement, but didn't have the ROI that was significant for the org. And this is why I think leaders are going to have to be a lot closer to the work, and in many cases closer to the technology as well. At Cisco, what we have found is that our AI adoption is 2 times higher if a leader is playing with AI. And so to me, that means we don't have a choice. Our leaders have to absolutely lean in. And I think that connects to the question about ROI, because I think we as leaders have to help sort through what the return on investment looks like. The fact that we have all of this great technology and that we're struggling so much with the return is fascinating. And I do think ultimately it becomes a leadership issue.
Frederick, you wanted to come in?
Yeah, a few comments. You have two levels of discussion on ROI. So for our teams, for the moment, the choice we've made is AI is for free. So that we favor implementation, we favor ideation, and we favor speed. And if we start to go to all level of leadership and ask them that calculate me the €2 per month per license and so on, way too complex. So we took the decision, and it's, I don't know, we'll see, but at least it favors experimentation and it favors the change of culture we wanted to have. So ROI on AI is becoming a board discussion at Schneider Electric, and I'm pretty happy about it. I think it's a board discussion, so we look at it. Of course, we understand where it could go. That's why as well we would like to have a part of AI that we customize to what we do every day, to be able to protect the company and be able to architect something that is more tailored for what we need. So we don't think that in 20 years we will keep using as much large language models as what we do today. But for the moment, the choice we have done is to separate the two discussions on ROI. We'll see in 2-3 years if it's good or not. But we wanted to favor the usage. And I gave it as an example. In software, I don't think we'll come back. I don't think we'll come back because now people are programming much faster, and our software engineers are now super happy. They go fast. What was painful for them is now done by agents, and it's really powerful. So, and probably if we had started by prove me your business case and so on, I don't know if he would be there now.
I just want to add one comment, because especially on the software engineering side, I think it was quite interesting, because I did an experiment by myself during New Year's vacation time, and I really saw like that it's also for a company like SAP a big mindset shift for software engineers how to code or to develop software in the future, because at the end, I even think the current product manager is maybe even the better engineer using AI capabilities, but able to prompt the right outcomes they expect in the code from a prompting like user story perspective, rather than going into Jira and doing the backlog coding. For sure, you need the expertise. You need the deep technical architect. It's still there are still experts needed in also software development, also on the infrastructure layer, also on technical layer. I think if you design products, it's also still you need to have the expertise. But like I would say, kind of junior software front-end developer. Let's see where this job role is going to in a certain point of time.
I heard a great quote to that, and I wish I could remember who said it, but it was, never has the gap between the expert and the average been more narrow.
Yep. Yep.
And I think that's true. The gap between the expert and the average is very narrow now.
We were chatting just before we started the session, and Andre, you made a very interesting comment when I was talking about the structure of a business, where you see the most fear, anxiety, and resistance at this point. And I was expecting you to say at the blue-collar level, or maybe at the leadership level, or even at the graduate entry level, but you didn't say that. You said at the management level, the middle management level. Just explain.
I mean, at least at the companies I know, they fear to lose impact. Of course, they fear to lose kind of teams sizes, reducing like the span of control, and then maybe the whole management level gets obsolete over time. So I have to, like, at least to the companies I talk, and also within our company, I see there the biggest protectionism to keep kind of the efficiency things away, and like also always looking for the not so good things when it comes to AI and the failure rates, rather than really embracing it, working with the teams and looking, okay, how can we embrace this technology, like defining our teams a new way for the future and lead it. I think there's still a lot of kind of protectionism on the middle management.
This is such a fundamental issue. I think everybody should have a crack at this. Fran?
So what's really interesting is that at Cisco, the AI users are early in career. I think you'd expect that. And employees with 20 plus years of tenure. And so I think that's validating if you assume that it's the middle. And so those are the two areas that we see. And it just tells us, kind of going back to the skilling opportunity, that we're going to have to work so hard to bring the entire company along with us. The only other thing that I would say is we've been doing talent reviews. And in the talent reviews, the people that are most effective with AI that we're talking about are not the people that we've always talked about in the past. And in fact, in the last talent review, we were noticing that the people that are using AI most effectively are not on our top talent or critical to retain lists. So it was a little bit of an aha that we have to be looking at our talent differently too.
Wow.
Frederick?
Well, look, it's a bit what you say. I'm looking at the barrier of adoption of AI, right? It most of the time relates to leadership. In the places where we don't have adoption, right? And when you see neighbors that are adopting on similar and technology, it's most of the time related to leadership. And this, of course, we need to educate, we need to train, we need to change people. Some people are probably not at the mindset we would like for the future, but leadership plays a key role. With the speed of technology, people who want to control everything are disrupted in their leadership model. And we don't disrupt them. They are disrupted by themselves. And that's super important. After, I don't believe, when you have the right leaders, I don't see much discrepancy between the way the teams are implementing. My only exception, and I made it at the beginning, is field services engineer, because here is probably still today a problem of technology availability for them. But when technology is available in research, we don't have the same speed everywhere. So we make analysis, we try to understand what's blocking, and then most of the time we came to leadership.
I've got two daughters. Many of you in the room have children, probably at graduate level, who are about to move on into a career. As we think about those very important people who are going to shape our future and shape the futures of those businesses, how do we make sure that they are actually not left behind here, that they're kept up to speed on the skills that they need for the modern workforce? Because your survey, Becky, suggests that that's not happening.
Yeah, so first I'd say, as the mother of three 20-somethings, early 20-somethings, I don't share that concern, Jeff, only because they learn in the flow of life. And so we talked about learning in the flow of work. They learn in the flow of life. I mean, anything new that comes out, they know well before it's talked about. It's kind of a prestige thing. And so I love Fran's data on it's the younger people because they're learning in the flow of life. And it's the 20 plus year people because they want a bright future, I would hope, for themselves and the company. And so I actually think that's, I think they're our hope. And the beautiful thing is, as a generation, they're sharers, unlike some generations before. And so I'm hoping they will teach some of the others of us how to use these things. But I want to go back to the manager comment that you made. Coming out of COVID 2022, the recovery 2023, we saw companies around the world let go of middle management. Middle management was unnecessary, it's too expensive, you're gone. Now we're seeing companies hire back managers, and in fact, it's one of the fastest growing subcategories. And when we ask why, because that's part of what I do, is say, why are you hiring me managers? It's the need to have transformation be led
Of course.
in the middle of the company. But I would say we need to redefine the role of the manager. It's not a disseminator of information as we've used it in the past.
all.
It's really about driving
It's a catalyst.
adoption and driving action into the organization. And I think reimagining that may help with the word control that ironically both of you used. You both talked about control. So I have hope for the younger generation and I have hope for managers.
And I also need to, like for the older generation, I see it also for the expert generation also when it comes to, I think, field service where, again, software, I mean, there are a lot of UX experts and software designers out there in the world who did a tremendous good job in designing the software that you can do things with 3 clicks. And sometimes also, I mean, even within our organization saying, okay, that's great, but now I need to have like 2 or 3 speech prompts that I get the same result that I expect with 2 clicks. And sometimes we also kind of, you know what I mean? It's sometimes we're blowing the things up because it's also kind of, okay, we need to have AI everywhere, but a pragmatic solution is sometimes even more worse than like the highest sophisticated large language model, which not serves the job at all.
Look, I'm probably going to get into trouble for this, but because time is tight. But I think we might be able to get a question or 2 in, if you have one. If you'd like to ask a question, you've been a terrific audience so far. Anybody want to lean into this? Any questions at all? Everybody's terribly comfortable with where we're going. Well, that's absolutely fantastic, isn't it? We've got an
Aren't you
audience
doing a
here
great job?
that feels really comfortable about what happens next. Well, let me then just reshape it and let me ask one more question to you because we're talking about entry level. Who thinks that perhaps it's a waste of time for people to leave school and go into university to learn things for 3 or 4 years and then come out and have to actually junk most of that and start retraining on AI? Hands up if you think that's a wasted experience at this point, or you still think people should go from school into university. So initially, hands up if you think it's a waste of time. No one puts their hand up. Hand up if you think that we should still go from school to higher education and then into the workplace. Okay, well that's a very interesting
response.
That's a very interesting outcome. Yep, very quickly, lady at the back. Hang on 1 second. Just yep, go on. Yep.
Can you?
Yep.
So I have 3 kids at university, or one is finishing it, and what their experience is that currently companies are not looking for young talents anymore. They have a lot of friends really with best exams, and they don't get a job in HR, in legal, and so on, because there are cost-cutting programs everywhere. And if we all agree that this is our future, I think that's the wrong direction.
Yeah, it's a terrific question. Who'd like to take it? Would anybody like to step up and? I mean, it's clear that we are in a lull at this point around hiring, but is it a lull that resets the level at which jobs are taken up, or are we due to come out of this?
If I marry your question and the question you just asked, the first thing that I would say is, I don't think there's one path anymore for talent. I think for some talent, they will go through university and others will not. And I think we have to be comfortable with that as well. As it relates to hiring at this moment, I think it's temporary. I believe, that companies like, I'll use Cisco as an example, we know how critical it is and that this truly is our future. I think what's so interesting is that a lot of companies right now are just trying to understand, and this goes back to ROI a little bit, what are the jobs that I really need? And I always use this example, but contact centers are a really great example of where there's been tremendous automation. Now for companies, we don't hire at the first line for contact centers. We handle at the second, which means we have to do a lot more work to get early in career talent into the company.
And I think if we don't, so let's turn the question on its head. What if we don't hire young people? That may be great for cost savings today, tomorrow, maybe the next 5 years. but then we think we have a management challenge now. There won't be
Right.
succession. We won't have people who want to run companies. And by the way, that's one of the challenges with the generations that are coming. There's various research, but anyone that you look at has one thing in common around generational managers. Millennials and Gen Zs have a much lower desire to be a manager or lead a big piece of a team than prior generations. And so we're worried about hiring them, and they may not want to be managers, but that's a leadership issue too. We have not made it where people want to actually run pieces of an organization, and that's a concern.
And actually, I mean, again, like this fundamental knowledge you acquire in university, it's so important. It sets the foundation. We need the people who have like this judgment also on outcomes of AI. So it's and by the way, as one read the research, like I think you train like how the synapses get connected in your brain until 23. This is like, so please, everybody should go to university. I think where universities also sometimes need to react, that they also need to be up to date in certain curriculums. I think that's also the obligation on their side, and this is what also we as companies maybe also need to work closer together with universities, that we even have in the kind of master thesis curriculums embedded the knowledge what we need later to hire them, that they can also kickstart in coming into and increase, I would say, the opportunities in the market. I think that's also obligation for companies.
Let me just briefly, Becky, give you the final word here.
Yeah, I would say fascinating conversation. So thank you to all the panelists in the audience. I leave encouraged between the balance of now and next. I leave encouraged by some of the insights of give people choice, give humans choice, and they will choose to learn, they will choose to adopt versus curating that for them. And I leave encouraged about the human edge, that where humanity and human potential meets technology, that's where the future of work will reside.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you to all of our panel, and thank you so much for coming.